Well, Crispin Piri is the spokesperson for South Africa's Foreign Ministry. Sir, you're joining us live from Johannesburg. It's great to have you on the program. What are the comments against the president that the Israeli embassy made that caused South Africa's anger?
Well, let me just start by saying it's not just comments. It's also the diplomatic conduct of the Israeli embassy. There are a number of senior officials that have come from Tel Aviv to South Africa, and the Israeli embassy neglected to inform the head office, which is DIRCO, of these senior officials' visit, and they subsequently went and purported to make agreements with lower-level government structures. Now, we do believe that that type of conduct is a complete violation of diplomatic practice and norms, and really undermines the strength of our Foreign Services Act, but also how we want to conduct diplomatic relations with states who are accredited to South Africa. So that's the first instance. The second is the conduct of the Israeli embassy on social media, particularly on the platform called X. There are a number of disparaging remarks that have been made against the government of South Africa, former minister, and ultimately even the president. We have seen one most famous one is that tweet that came from, I think it was a comment on the BBC. The president had said something about boycotting platforms not being a viable option of diplomacy. And the Israeli embassy tweeted a rare moment of clarity, something to that effect. And we really find that completely disrespectful. We do not expect a country hosted in our capital to behave in that manner. Most importantly, Cyril, I do want to say these are issues that were canvassed with Mr. Seidman before he left, before he was evicted. And we had hoped that those conversations would have led to some form of behavioral change. We didn't see that.
All right, so undiplomatic comments, and then, as you said at the beginning of your answer, also sending a delegation. I believe this was in the Eastern Cape province, sending a delegation without prior warning to South Africa, which is the host nation in this case. They, meaning Israel, responded to you declaring their number 2 persona non grata by expelling or asking the South African ambassador to leave also within 72 hours. Now, you have said on social media, well, he's actually the ambassador to Palestine, not Israel. So do they, in your view, have authority to expel him?
Unfortunately, the way the arrangement is structured is that the occupier of Palestine does determine who enters Palestine. So what will effectively happen in practice is Ambassador Benefeld's visa will be revoked, and that would make it difficult for him to access Palestine. But we are looking at different forms of how we can address that. But no, legally, there shouldn't be grounds to remove another country's ambassador from another country. This is really the absurdity of it all. It really shows how Israel continues to undermine the statehood of the Palestinian people.
You know, I think anybody who looks at this from the outside will say, well, hold on a minute. South Africa is taking Israel to court over genocide, right? Accusing Israel of genocide. So that relationship is going to be at best strained or quite possibly irreparable for a period of time. What would you say to that?
We think that with the court processes must be given space to unfold as they are unfolding, but we do believe we were completely justified in taking up our own obligations in terms of the Genocide Convention. We don't do this lightly. It's an obligation that we have in terms of the Genocide Convention, which we are signatories to. And the opposite of it would be for us to stand by and watch whilst a genocide unfolds in the 20th century, where we've all agreed that this would never, ever happen again. The memories of Rwanda still haunt many of us on the African continent. The injustices that we are seeing in Sudan still continue to haunt us, and we are continuing to pursue solutions to that. But in this instance, what we have been seeing unfolding in Palestine has been an injustice for centuries, in fact, for at least 7 decades. So this was the best route to address the issue, and we believe that the International Court will be able to come to a conclusion on the matter, and that's how that matter must be settled.
That could take years. So in the interim, with Israel and South Africa being on opposing sides of a genocide case, and then more recently there have been the vexing matters that you brought up with undiplomatic tweets, et cetera, what would it take at this point to rebuild that relationship to the point where you can have diplomatic representatives come back to Palestine and to South Africa?
At the very least, Cyril, what we're asking for is to respect diplomatic practices and norms, and to respect the sovereignty of South Africa in this instance. Treat us respectfully and apply the Vienna Convention as it should be applied. And absent that, we would then have a cordial relationship. But if we don't have a situation where the Vienna Convention is being respected, where basic diplomatic practices and norms are being violated, then we have no choice but to ensure that the sovereignty of our nation is preserved.
Crispin Piri, spokesperson for South Africa's Foreign Ministry, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.